Good morning. It's March 19th. This is To My Liberal Friends. Well, Democrats lost the election last November and found themselves in a minority in Washington, D.C. And that means they're reduced to playing defense when it comes to legislation, and they don't have many options. For the 4 previous years, they attacked Donald Trump in the courts, and they've now decided that's the way to attack him today. We've seen numerous court orders issued by federal district judges that affect policy nationwide. And if you look closely at these decisions, you'll find the judges issuing them are overwhelmingly ones appointed to be on the bench by Democratic presidents. And this is what's known in the legal system as forum shopping. These are highly charged political issues, so the lawyers filing the cases look for a judge that they believe will give them a favorable ruling. We've had a federal judge order the president to rehire 30,000 federal employees that were laid off by the executive branch. We've had district judges order the president to spend money which have been identified as waste and abuse. This is an abuse of our judicial system, and it will take action by the Supreme Court to either curtail these judges, to totally eviscerate and end this forum shopping on political issues. It's difficult for me to grasp a district judge, Jane Boasberg, who would believe he is empowered to overrule the Department of Defense and Homeland Security on matters that relate to national security in a preliminary hearing. In the current case, the Trump administration was removing dangerous criminals from the United States and flying them to El Salvador to be imprisoned. The majority of those being deported were members of the Tren de Aragua gang from Venezuela. Others were members of MS-13 gang. All were violent criminals. The judge hearing the case, brought by the ACLU, wanted to demand that the planes, which had taken off, left U.S. airspace, turn around and return these criminals to U.S. soil. Well, how many of you want them living in your neighborhood? Donald Trump campaigned on removing these criminal illegal immigrants from the country. He's been fulfilling his campaign promises with regularity, and that really concerns Democrats. It should come as no surprise that he's taken these actions. The administration invoked the Alien Enemies Act of 1788 to justify the deportations. Under this act, there is no due process, and since enactment, it has been rarely used. The last time was during World War II. But the fact is, it's on the books as a law. Well, Democrats have pounced on when the act was put into law, and some have pointed out that the Constitution was only passed a few years early, and nobody's saying we should not obey the Constitution. Some in Congress have said this judge should be impeached. Well, I'm not going to join in that chorus. I disagree with his ruling, but impeaching him is not the way to resolve this issue. Donald Trump himself should be loath to support such a move because he's very familiar with the use of impeachment for purely political reasons. Judge Boasberg simply reached what I would call a faulty interpretation of the Alien Enemies Act. There is no proper way to resolve this, and the legal remedies are there. Chief Justice John Roberts broke his silence and criticized any effort to impeach this sitting judge. Normally I would say, well done, Chief Justice, but I would also say, where have you been hiding before on this issue? Last year, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, another member of Congress, introduced articles of impeachment against Justice Thomas and Alito. If I remember this correctly, Chief Justice Roberts said nothing about this. Similarly, the Federal Judges Association and American Bar Association said not a word about the never-ending crusade against these 2 members of the Supreme Court. These attacks were never about disclosures. These were critics trying to delegitimize the court. Yet everyone was silent on those cases, and now they're speaking up. During the Biden administration, Senator Ron Wyden told President Biden to ignore any ruling by Judge Matt Kacsmaryk concerning the birth control drug Mifepristone. When President Biden decided he would ignore the Supreme Court ruling on canceling student debt, I did not hear a single Democrat tell him he was not doing something he could do, nor did I hear Chief Justice Roberts tell him he was out of line in making that suggestion. They cheered him on for defying the court's decision. And most will remember that during his first term, Trump issued a travel ban. Democrats sought out a friendly judge to block the ban, but when the case got to the Supreme Court, they ruled it was a proper exercise of executive power. In the end, the Supreme's going to have to take one of these cases and make a ruling that makes it perfectly clear that individual district court judges cannot make policy to affect the entire nation. Over and over, these Democratic-appointed district judges are trying to set policy. Yesterday, Judge Ana Reyes blocked the implementation of a ban on transgenders serving the military. The Trump administration will appeal, and this might be the case for the court to take. President Trump is giving the constitutional separation of powers another stress test as he pushes the boundaries of executive power. The Supreme Court prefers to stay above the fray until the cases rise up the appellate chain, but in these fraught days, it may need to act on its emergency docket, when lower courts clearly exceed their authority. But the court has to take some immediate action to resolve this and make it clear what they view as proper executive action and what is not. Chief Justice Roberts, get off the fence and bring a decision to the American people. This has been To My Liberal Friends. Thanks for listening.